Hi, thanks for joining us. In Matthew chapter 5, Jesus calls us the salt of the earth and the light of the world. And I was trying to figure out what that means to us. And to be honest, I'm still figuring it out. But one thing I do know is that I like salt on my food. I like salt a lot, maybe too much, actually. Especially, I like it on a sirloin steak, strip loin, if possible, with lots of salt. And that's pretty delicious. But what does salt do? It brings flavor, makes things awesome. But it changes it too. Like, you know, if you've ever had a tomato with salt on it, it makes it like better than it was before. It makes it different. It changes things. What does light do? You know, you walk into a dark room, you flick on the light switch, and all of a sudden the darkness becomes light. The light changes the darkness. All of a sudden you can see what you want to do. It feels warm, it feels inviting. And I feel like both those things have this element of influence and this element of change to them where salt changes things. The light changes the darkness into something that's useful for other people. It changes it into something better. And I feel like that's what God is calling us to be, salt and light to this world. And I was trying to think of a good analogy for how it works, and I kept coming back to this idea that Chris Valentin has about a thermometer. What does this thermometer do? It tells the temperature. It's nothing fancy. And if you could read the temperature in this room right now, it would be cold. That's what it would be. But a thermometer just, you know, from a physics point of view, just measures the average kinetic energy of its surroundings. It just takes a reading of what's around it. But a thermostat's different. A thermostat, when you turn on a thermostat, it gets nice and toasty. And I wish someone had played with a thermostat in this room because it would be nice and toasty right now. And I could maybe take off my jacket and a few of these layers. But a thermostat, when you turn it up, it raises the entire temperature of the room into something that's comfortable. It changes the atmosphere around it. And so I feel like we kind of have this choice around us. What do we want to be? A thermometer, which just reads what's going on around us? Or do we want to be a thermostat? Do we want to change what's going on? Do we want to change the atmosphere of where we work, where we go to school, where we play? All those things are done by a thermostat, not a thermometer. And I was thinking, you know, okay, obviously the choice is I want to be a thermostat. I want to be able to influence my surroundings. I want to influence those people that are in my life, whether at work or at school, that I interact on a daily basis. I want to be an influencer. I want to change that atmosphere. But how does a thermostat work? Well, you walk over to the thermostat, and ours is electronic, so you just punch a little button, keypad, and you turn up the little temperature thing until it gets up to a nice 22, maybe even a cozy 23. If it was my wife, it would be 25. And then it just does its thing, right? Well, yeah, kind of. That's like, that's the part that you see. But there's actually a lot more going on behind the scenes. And, you know, if you think of a thermostat on let's say, like on a fridge, first you got to plug it in. Then you can set the thermostat, right? But the thermostat itself is a pretty small component. It's important by no means, but it's small in the grand scheme of things. What actually does a lot of the work in the fridge is what it's plugged into. It's plugged into electricity. It's plugged into power. And it's because it's plugged into power that it's able to affect that change. For us, being plugged in means getting plugged into the Holy Spirit. Jesus said that He is our helper. He is the one who will come and bring us power. That's how we receive power, through the Holy Spirit. Yes, the thermostat's important. If you want to be a thermostat, that's great. But the important part is what you're plugged into. And if you're plugged into the Holy Spirit, you can affect that change in these atmospheres and environments around you. If you're not plugged in, a thermostat's useless. In fact, I would say maybe a thermostat is maybe less useful than even a thermometer. At least a thermometer can give a reading around it. And I feel like that's kind of what Jesus was trying to get to. He's trying to get us to the point where, you know what, we're no longer just in the midst of everything that's going on around us, but instead, we're influencers of those places where we go, those places where we live and we work and things like that. He wants us to be influencers, and he wants us to influence it in like the right way. He doesn't want us to get into those places and like make it worse. He's called us to make it better, to make it good, just like salt does with meat, with food in general. So I hope this has blessed you, and thanks for watching.